The swamp awaits Stephen Morris and Duke Johnson, who had a monster game against the Owls. Morris has weapons at his disposal, and he knows he's going to have to use them well to beat the Gators.
I think that's just the biggest thing is, I'm telling our guys in here, just treat it like a normal game. Because as soon as you start thinking, oh, it's a big game, this and that, then you're going to want to do things that you're not used to doing. So our whole focus right now is just go out there and just play our game, play our brand. So that's what Coach Golden's always preaching. And, the leaders on this team, me and Shane, are doing a great job of just relaying that messages to the whole team.
It's obviously a big game, but worrying about anything on the outside is not going to change what happens between the lines. The biggest thing for us is just to focus on what we can control. And everything else that surrounds it, we have no impact on. We have an impact on how we prepare and what we got to do, between the lines.
All right, I said this game was played in the swamp. It is going to be played in a swamp. It's just one. It's a little bit south. It's in Miami. All right, well, you talk about what Florida needs to do. I mean, the offense wasn't super impressive against Toledo, but they did enough to get the win in week 1. But now they get Matt Jones back, their big running back from last year. He's been sick really all summer.
Right, and that will make their offense look a lot more like Ohio State's offense from 30 years ago. This Florida offense is a mashing, tough offense, and that's one thing I really am impressed about this team. If you look at both sides of the ball, I don't think there's a more physical, tough, mean team than Florida. But what we don't see is what we're accustomed to seeing there, and that is playmakers on the perimeter that can turn a 2-yard bubble screen into an 80-yard touchdown because they can make 3 guys miss at the point of attack and then off they go. They don't have that element, but that doesn't mean they're not good. And I think having Jones back gives them another playmaker because he is a playmaker, but from running back. And when you combine him with Mac Brown at the same time on the field especially, it gives them more options.
Robert Jones is listed 6'2", 226 pounds before the virus, so he was a big back. How difficult is it to come back after not playing all summer long and losing that kind of weight?
Well, there's no question. You got a guy that's just not in football shape. That can be difficult. And everybody says, well, what is football shape? Football shape is when you're actually out there with your adrenaline pumping and you're actively trying to avoid players. You're not just running 110s or 200s. You're not just out there running drills. It is much more difficult once you get under those type of game conditions to have that sense back that you've really got that cardiovascular depth to be able to handle what you're going to have to throughout the course of the game.
Robert, as a running back coming in cold like that, physically, what starts to fatigue? What is the physical challenge?
Well, I think it's your thighs more than anything else because, number one, you're taking hits on them. It's kind of like a boxer with body punches throughout the course of a fight. Your legs are tired anyways, and you're taking hits to the legs, so you just get worn out. Your legs feel extremely heavy, and that's the worst thing that you want as a running back is to feel that you don't really have that spring in your step. It kind of changes the way that you actually make decisions on the field because essentially you don't feel that you can do certain things, so you don't try and get yourself into certain situations.
No matter how improved Florida's offense is this year and throughout the course of the year, they're going to win with that salty defense. How good is that defense compared to some of the other teams in the SEC?
Well, when you start talking about defensive lines and you talk about fast, aggressive, very athletic people, look no further than this Florida defensive line. Dominique Easley, Ronald Powell along that line, this Fowler kid, Dante Fowler, very solid. Or these guys, they're very good with their first step. And I think this could be a real problem for a Miami team that really doesn't have great feet along the offensive line. They're not very athletic. You won't see these guys pulling a whole lot because they really don't trust that athleticism. They have difficulty getting up to the second level. And when you start looking at these guys, especially Easley, who they'll line up over center a number of times, he's so quick on that first step. And you know this, Trevor, it is so tough. You get one of these guys lined up in a certain technique, whether it's a shade or inside or outside, and he takes this huge, quick first step, and you're just reaching for air, and this guy is he's found himself a gap, and he's into the backfield before you even know what happened.
An instant hesitation, and he's running free.
All right, well, it's been, about a half hour? We haven't even talked about Johnny football yet.